Hello, everyone. So, today I'd like to share some things with you that I learned along the way to manifest or create my reality. So, my story is kind of unique, guys. If you know me, you follow me for a while. So, to sum things up, I basically won the lottery using the law of attraction. So, my subconscious mind, and I won and I bought my dream car, and then I did it again and again and again, and I kept winning and winning, and I kept just manifesting stuff. I even wrote a book about it. You could go get the book. It's on Amazon. Manifesting the lottery using quantum physics. So I just want to talk to you today about the things that I've learned and that opened my mind, and I was shocked about how the universe and how the mind works. And these are things that I studied and I learned myself and I applied them when I won the lottery, and I kept using these, what I call techniques or my methods, and they just kept working and working. So let's talk about some of these things so that maybe you can get a better understanding. So maybe if you're someone and you're into mindset and you're into changing your program and creating your life, then this is the perfect video for you right now. So the first thing I learned about when it comes to creating or manifesting is that there is more than one mind. Like, I have more than one mind. I didn't know that before. I I thought that everything I would get in my life would be through my determination and hard work, and I was far from the truth, because it led me down to a path to understand that a lot of the stuff that I learned I had to unlearn. So my whole paradigm, my belief structure had to change, and it started coming down to, man, I have more than one mind. And what I discovered was I had a subconscious mind. I didn't know about that mind. I didn't know I had a mind that controlled my actions and habits. I didn't know that mind was infinite. So once I started to study more about that, I started to change my program. I started to say, wow, so I can interact with the world in this way. So that's the very first profound thing that I kind of started to understand. And then I started to make sense. I started to say, okay, so this is why I kept doing stuff I didn't want to do. This is why I kept messing up. This is why I kept self-sabotaging myself. This is why I kept blaming myself. But all along, I really didn't have total control, because there was this mechanism behind the scenes that was working to fulfill its job, the subconscious. So whenever I tried to do something and it didn't like it, it would override it. And anyway, it took me back to my childhood, and I realized that, man, you had a childhood just like so many of you guys that had like a lot of limiting beliefs. Beliefs didn't serve me. So that was the first profound thing. So once I started to change that, then the next profound thing came into being, is how the nature of reality and the universe work. And that, out of all of that, that was the biggest one. Because I always thought, who goes around and thinks about reality? You just get up every day, you walk, you do what you got to do. There's no thought about the world. Everything is solid. But I'm a deep thinker, so I started to just dig deep. I said, man, what is all of this? And the more I studied, the more deeper it got. And I finally understood that I'm not even here. This is not even a reality. It's a simulated brain processing of what we call neurosynaptic biochemical electrochemical signals that perceives out of my eyes. My eyes are connected to my brains, and I see the world. And I started thinking to myself, so if the world isn't real, then the world is malleable. Maybe I can use that to change my life. And that's when I started to do the lottery. I started to say, well, if quantum physics says that I can change my reality, then the lottery is no more than that. I can change the lottery, the odds and the favors, and I can manifest it into my life. And I started doing that, and to make a long story short, it did happen. I did win. I did exactly the way it manifested, and I kept doing it months and months and months and years and years and years. And this is what I teach, and I help a lot of people do that. But this is beyond the lottery. The lottery was just an example of this stuff. And then what I totally understand, and it got me more deeper into the identity of who I am. So I started to realize that, wait a minute, man. So not only do I have these different minds, I always associated myself with my mind. Even though I have a subconscious mind, I would always associate the subconscious mind and my regular mind like the thing. But then I understand that I am not even the mind. I am not even the subconscious. I am something beyond that. And that took me to the next plateau, the next level there. That's where I started to understand how this stuff really works. I said, wait a minute. What I am is just an awareness of everything that's happening in my world. Nothing is ever happening to me. Everything is happening for me. That was very profound in my life, people. When I discovered that, I changed. I was no longer a victim, and I started to take more control to create my life or my world by design rather than default. So when it got even deeper than that, so I said, okay, so I am not the mind. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm not even the body. Like, oh my goodness. All along since I was a kid and going through school, they taught you that, yeah, use your mind, you're this, your body, and all that. You're none of that, people. And then I started doing more research, and I started to figure out, I was very religious. I went to church. I was all in the church. I know the Bible from the book to the bottom. Anything with the Bible, trust me, I've been there, and I was very into it. And actually that helped me to see the light, to see the truth of what really happened. So I started to now say, okay, if I am this higher being or this higher awareness, how does it communicate with me, and how can I use it to just change my life? And that's when I started to figure out the key to successfully tapping into this awareness is to basically, I had to disassociate myself from my own mind. Now, it's not easy to do in the first, but creating what you want in your life, it's not going to be easy at first because you have to relearn. You have to create these new neural pathways. I didn't know anything about that as well. I didn't even know that my brain can relearn and recreate new things. I didn't even know that my brain had the ability to create new realities. None of that stuff until I started to learn about neuroscience, quantum physics, and the mind. And then I put it all together, and I said to myself, all right, man, so in order for me to make this thing work, I have to disassociate myself from the mind. See, when I disassociate myself from the mind, this is what it means. In simple terms, I observe the mind. I no longer absorb the mind. Okay? Keep listening to that. I observe. Observe means I'm watching. I have no judgment. I'm just like the wind. When the wind blows, the wind will go through everything. The wind will pick a car up. The wind will pick a little feather up. There's nothing that the wind sees as any. The wind doesn't go and say, man, that car is heavy. Can I move it? Oh, that feather's so light. I'll move it. The wind just moves everything. There's nothing. So that's how I did. I just observed the mind. And then what I started to do, I would notice the mind would bring a lot of things that weren't in my line of thought. And I was like, all right, so what do I do? What if I just observe this mind and then redirect the mind to what I would like to come into my life? And I started to use my imagination. And then imagination led me to discover the affirmations, the ask-formations, how my subconscious mind, I use question formats to talk to the subconscious rather than statements. All that I didn't know. For years, I was probably just like you. I was using the I am powerful, I am wealthy, I am successful, but I wasn't getting any results. I was like, man, this stuff, what's going on? But then I realized, okay, man, it doesn't work like that. Once you understand the detailed mechanism of the unconscious mind and see that it's a prover mind, it likes to do things, and the only way to do things is to use the questions because it's illogical and it answer it as reality. And then I discovered that my subconscious mind is actually going into other dimensions. And then, let's talk about the dimension part now. I didn't realize that the universe and all this stuff that I'm existing, not only I was this awareness part of this big universe, I was actually the universe itself experienced from a fractal point. A fractal point is a one point from the whole scene. And my awareness was this, and I'm this guy named Mark. That's not even who I truly am. This is just a part of a play. I'm here. I'm just in this body right now, observing this. And then when this body goes or whatever, then I go off somewhere else. And then my awareness goes somewhere else. Or your awareness goes somewhere else. And then the reincarnation thing and all this stuff. And everything started to finally make sense to me. And I was like, man, why was this stuff not taught to me? Was this stuff deliberately hidden? Is it a taboo? You get into that stigma and start to figure out. But I left that alone. I said, okay, now I know. Let me start using it. The main point was I had to use this stuff to change my life. That was the main part. How can I use it to change my life? Right? So you and I are basically the same. We're one. We're one unit. What you see in me, I see in you. Now it doesn't mean, and this is where people get confused, it doesn't mean that like if you have something bad, I have something bad. No, it just means that we are all the same line of communication from the same source, but we are on different fractal points, right? So when I started to understand that, and I said, no, the dimension thing, now that's where it really took off. Now I started to study the quantum physics and the universe and the mechanism of how this stuff works. Now the thing about me is, ever since I was a little kid, I always had this photographic memory. Like I could just get a book and I could skim through and I could know everything in the book. And another great thing that I use to help people is I am really good at talking and making very complex subjects very easy to understand. And this is what I'm doing now. And this is why I help so many of you guys. And you guys are awesome and great. So, the dimension part. So, I always thought that I'm just here and in this space, three-dimensional, up, down, left, right. But then I started to understand that there is no such thing as the reality that I'm seeing. Now I understand that everything comes from a quantum field. So there's this like field, it's invisible. And in this field is every single thing I desire. I don't even have to create anything, because then I learned the laws of thermodynamics. Energy can never be created or destroyed. Your energy, I am energy. This car's energy, money's energy. So this stuff, I don't have to create it. All I have to do is learn to pull it or attract it or bring it from the field. And when I bring it from the field, it'll magically, literally pop up into my reality. At first, I couldn't believe that. I was like, this is a bunch of hocus pocus. I said, let me try that. I did it with the lottery, and I won. I said, okay, that was beginner's luck. I did it again, and I won. I was like, okay, there's something on to this. I did it again, and I won. And I did it again, and I did it again. I said, okay, I'm convinced this stuff works. Let me start perfecting it, and let me start doing it more. So, once I started to figure that out, I said, okay, how can I tap into this field? Well, if you just joined this live, a couple minutes ago, I said that I discovered that there was more than one mind that I was observing. And the secret to the field is in two parts. It's to tapping into my subconscious mind, which you all have, and it's also using my imagination. And then once I put those two together and I can repeat those processes, then I can affect the energy and the field brings it in. Now, once I got that part down, I started to do that. But there was always this glitch. There was this, what you want to call it, intermittent funk that was just messing up. I was like, okay, this is supposed to work. What's the problem? I would see results, but then I would get stops and blocks. I was like, there's something I'm missing. I got the formula. The formula is the subconscious. The formula is tapping into the field and using my imagination. What am I missing to complete this formula to create in my life or manifest better stuff? And then, it was my conscious, my ego, my logical mind, the mind that I'm using to perceive these things. I was actually using it in the wrong way. See, what happened was I was using my logical mind to create the uncreatable that I couldn't see. So I would create resistance. At that time, I didn't know what resistance was. I was like, what is resistance? Is this or that? But now I know resistance is the energy that I put forth that blocks or resists what I want to come in. So after I started to do that, I said, okay, this mind, what do I use this mind for? I said, just use this mind to imagine whatever you want and then let it go. Do not use the mind to try to figure out how and when. That was my problem. I was always trying to figure out, how am I going to get this? When is it going to happen? Is it possible? Da-da-da-da-da. All that stuff, and all that stuff, I was building up resistance. So when I discovered that, I stopped doing it. I started using my own mind for that. And then I got into the subconscious. Someone here talks about the feeling. And the feeling is very powerful because it's part of the subconscious to manifest. So what happens is whenever you want or desire something, there's steps. You have to decide that's what you want. I did that. You got to stick with that. And then you have to imagine it, and then the imagination will create a feeling. The interesting thing about this feeling now, and this is where I messed up along. So when I started the feeling part, I started to try to create the feeling. I started to try to be super happy, super joyous. But it wasn't working because for some reason my body was telling me it wasn't me. So I said, all right, you know what? I said, screw this. I said, let me just be myself. Whatever I feel, I feel. If I can't feel it, if I don't have to be, it doesn't have to be big or joy or loud. I'm just gonna feel what feels normal to me. And that's when stuff started to work. I was like, okay, so this manifesting stuff is a blueprint. I can't do exactly what everybody else is doing. I have to do what my body says to me. So for some people, their feeling is, that excitement and that good feeling. That's tuned to their DNA. My feeling is tuned to the big excitement. My feeling is tuned to more like natural feeling. And that's what you have to do when you want to manifest. When you want to create something in your life, use the blueprint of space, time, subconscious neuroscience, and then fit it to yourself. So once I start to use the imagination, once I start to get the ego out of the way, Once I started to tap into this quantum field and started to observe and do the repetition and impress the subconscious with the affirmations, with the visualizations, and I started to do that stuff, and I started to be open, and that's more important, I started to connect with my higher self, and then I figured out how it talked and communicated to me. It was communicated to me all along. I was always connected. I was never disconnected. It was always communicated to me through my intuition. At that time, I didn't know what intuition was. I didn't know what it was. It would come and it would go, but I would keep stifling my intuition because of my own common ego. Once I discovered all that stuff, I started to settle it down, screw stuff up. Then all the downloads started to come into my mind, and that's when the magic started happening. It even got to the point, man, that I would get dreams. I would even hear my own voice. It was so powerful that, think about this. And this is a realm that people don't even understand and talk about. Once you get so connected and you're connected to your true self, your authentic self in the universe, you will actually, I'll explain downloads in a minute, yeah. You will actually hear your authentic self speak to you out loud and know you're not crazy. Here's what happens. When the voice comes in, I don't know if you ever experienced this, you can hear a female voice and you can hear a male voice. But get this, this voice it wasn't a male, it wasn't a female. How many, you've never experienced that before. You've never heard a voice, not a male or a female. Your higher self is that voice. It talks to me it's something I've never experienced, I've never heard. I could tell you that it's not a male, it's not a female. I don't know if it's unisex, but it's a voice that I cannot put a sex or gender to it. So that's when I know, I said, oh man, I'm in big territory here. This is deep stuff here, okay? So this voice would talk to me and it would tell me stuff and I would do it. Well, at one point, this voice told me where I was supposed to go to a store, and I bought a scratch ticket. That was a scratch ticket, I think it was in 2019 or 2019. I went to the store, and it told me this ticket to buy was a $30 ticket, and I won $100,000 on that ticket the next day. And this voice kept doing stuff like that. And this became quite normal to me. For some people, this may fascinate them, and they may say, wow, what's going on? But I'm here to tell you guys, this is all natural stuff if you know how to tap into this stuff. And there's a taboo out there that doesn't show people how to really tap into this stuff. Now, let's see, the downloads. So the downloads are just like a computer. You'll get information that comes in to help you navigate your life. So example of downloads would be, and I'll give an example how you can communicate right now to your higher self. The thing I learned about my higher self is when I talk to my higher self, I talk out aloud. So what I'll do, I'll maybe go in my privacy of my room or my home, and I'll talk out loud because, you know, people may be out there like, this guy is a quack, is he crazy? So I just said I'll talk out loud to myself. And so what I started to do, just to cover things up, to make sure that I'm always connected, I'd always wear some earphones in my ear. So when I'm walking outside and I'm talking to my authentic self, people would think I'm on the phone, which is great for them, and for me, it makes things even better. Even though I don't care what people think, but just to do that, I can do that as well. You can do that anyway. But anyway, once I started to talk to my higher self, I'd do it in question forms. I said, hey, how would it make me feel? I'd say, hey, can you show me this? Just like I'm talking to myself. I'd say, ask for signs, ask things. And guess what, guys? Maybe in a day, it would show up. It'd be 2 weeks, it would show up. Maybe a month, it would show up. And this was so fascinating. And that's what I started to say, oh my goodness, there is something beyond this realm. And the downloads now would be based on what I've asked or my authentic self for. So a download would be, I'll be sitting there maybe drinking some water, and boom, what I asked for a month ago just popped into my head and it showed me how to do it. What I asked for yesterday popped into my head and shows me how to do it. And I take what's called the inspired action. Now, the inspired action, I had to learn that very well as well. Because the thing I learned, that my ego, my conscious mind will try to do regular action, but there's also the inspired action. And if you remember back into the beginning of this video, I said I always thought, and we were programmed, that we have to work hard and push and determine to create stuff. You don't have to do any of that. That's called the inspired action. All I started to do now, I would give information to my authentic self. I would wait for the information to be relayed to me, and then I would wait for the inspired action to kick in. And the inspired action comes through my ego. Your authentic self uses your ego, which is a conscious mind, to direct you to do something. So what's an example of inspired action? Inspired action is me sitting here talking to you lovely people, all of you blessed souls, and all of a sudden, boom, something just tells me to do something, to call someone, and there's an event, and I get some results. That's inspired action. Inspired action is doing something without thinking, without logic, without reason, just doing it because it feels like the next logical step. That's the inspired action. The action part is me thinking, trying, doing, analyzing, critiquing. I stopped getting out of that game. That's why I say it's easy to manifest if you can tap into all of this stuff. So talk directly to source. Yes. So when I started to talk directly to that, then as a kid, now keep in mind now, I was taught the religious thing, right? I was taught like there's this God in the sky, and he also judges you, and you will get something if you're good or bad. So that was a limiting belief, because once I started talking to this version of myself, I realized, wait a minute, this probably is God, but it's me as a part of this God. And when I ask for anything, this person never says no, and there's no judgment. I was like, okay. So the religion thing stuck me hard. It took me a while to get out of that. So I had to deprogram myself from religion, because I found out that the religion stuff made me very low self-esteem, made me feel unworthy, because I felt I have to be good, I have to qualify, I don't deserve it. And I realized, like, wait a minute, Mark, you deserve, and you people, all of you watching, you deserve everything you desire, because you are a part of this. You are the universe. You are the God experiencing the God self on this planet, man. Now, that was when the light bulb went off. That all of you have this in you. But here's the thing that I discovered. It's been funneled up through programming, through the religious, through the government, through parents, through the system that they created called the Matrix. And when that's funneled, it's also funneled to your subconscious. Now remember what I said about the subconscious. It's very illogical, so it takes everything literally. So all these things you believed and you heard, it became your belief. And this is why it's hard for you to have confidence, to believe in yourself, to do all this stuff. So it became this thing. Okay? Now, once you deprogram yourself from that, then the love, abundance, peace all open up to you. You guys, let me tell you something right now. You are constantly getting downloads right now as I speak to you. You are getting the information to change your life right now. But the fact is, you're just not open or aware of it. It's not your fault. The reason you're not open and you're not aware of it, because you are a trap of your own mind, that was designed to do when they program you from a kid. Your mind is your reason and logic. That's what you use to decode. But if you only can understand that three-dimensional world is a very limited world, there's 4, 5, 6, there's up to 13 dimensions that we know even more. And within these extra dimensions is where these spiritual powers come to the physical world. And if you can disassociate yourself from your mind by understanding the characteristics of the mind, and let me touch on that so you can really get this, and this will help you. This will help you very great. So here's my tip for you, and this will help you on your journey. Let me talk to you and teach you about your mind, logical mind, what it's made for. The logical mind is made to do this. It's made to observe or perceive what the subconscious has created. Your conscious mind is made to interact, to keep you safe, to use logic and reason and structure and time. These are all designed in a limited world. Key point, limited. So when you're using your mind to build your dreams, you're always going to be limited. So instead of doing that, start to use your mind to observe what you're building in the subconscious mind. And then use the mind to use your imagination, to visualize, to do the things. And don't use the mind to get into other stuff like when or how. If you can do that, that's when you'll start to see big results coming into your life. The next step is you have to learn to connect with your true self, your conscious awareness, the hierarchy of who you are. And you are connected right now. All you have to do is speak out aloud to it. And you can speak out right now. Yes, the paradigm. Yes, I see someone mentioned here, Bob Proctor explained, what is this? Paradigm. So paradigm is basically your belief structure. And every single person, all of you watching this right now, we have two sets of beliefs. Paradigm, or I like to call them maps of reality. One is in the subconscious and one is in the conscious. The one you want to change is the subconscious. That's where your true beliefs are held. The one in the conscious one, it's going to be difficult to achieve those because you're using a limited mind. You can do it, but you're going to put a lot of hard work, effort. By the time you get it, you'll be exhausted and you won't even keep it. So if you can program and target your subconscious, then you can change that whole paradigm. And let me give you tips on how you change your subconscious. It's very easy. Imagination and subliminals, or hypnotherapy. Imagination, subliminals, affirmations. Not affirmations, affirmations. Example of affirmation is, what would my life look like with such and such? How different would my life be as such and such? Why am I so successful? Why am I so wealthy? Why do good things always happen for me? Why is making money so easily and effortless for me? How would it make me feel to have $1,000 in my bank account? What would my life look like with $1 million in my bank account? How different would my life be driving my dream BMW M4? How different would my life be driving my new Porsche 911 GT? You get the point? Once you start doing things like that and you keep repeating it over and over, then the subconscious now thinks this is something it has to make you experience, because that's all it's programmed to do. Fascinating tip. I'll give you the biggest tip about your subconscious mind right now. This will help you. It's a prover mind. It must always prove what you say to become your reality. Example how illogical it is. How many times have all of us said something like, man, I'm just not good, man. I'm not good with making a lot of money like that. I'm not good with talking with people. I'm not good around the crowd. I'm not too confident when it comes around that stuff. That's my weak point. My weak point is, I'm good at this, but I'm bad at that. That's what you create in your life. Your subconscious can't differentiate it. Man, I'm just not good at making a lot of money. I can make good money, but I'm not just good at making like 6 figures. You never will make 6 figures because your subconscious thinks that's what you want. Man, I'm so stupid. Why did I make that mistake? You will continue to be stupid in the subconscious. You continue to make the mistake. It cannot differentiate, people. So now if you start saying, man, I'm actually good at making 6 figures, man. I'm good at making a lot of money. Guess what? You're changing paradigms. Paradigms, people. Paradigm. I think about that every day. And I go back and I was like, man, I look at myself, I said, man, I was doing it all wrong. Most of the stuff I said, I was saying it in the wrong term because I thought that was what I was supposed to. I didn't know I was sabotaging, messing up myself. Can people's, so I got a couple minutes here. Can people's subconscious, enter your dreams without them following and letting you, how they feel? Well, the interesting thing is everything is connected. So people can come in your dreams if you're connected and you're feeling them, if they're a part of your circle. There's nothing separate. Separation is an illusion. And that's another video I have to talk about. I just don't have the time right now, but I'll do another one. I'll talk about how everything is one, how your desires and what you want is already here for you. You don't have to go anywhere to get it, right? I know it's a lot of stuff, but this is a great start point for you guys. So always just remember these tips, guys, and I'll see you next time with another good video.